Okay, I think I'm on. All right. So this is the last and final stage that you're going to um, complete the project. So you can kind of go through here and just think about composition, editing, adjusting, repetition, all those things I was talking about before. So I have a lot of these kind of thin curvilinear lines, and they are consistent throughout. So that to me is like one of the main themes or identity personalities of the drawing. And there's these other elements, the cross contour, which I balanced out, and I just left those four original items that I kept in there as a cross contour. I just made a quick change here because I had this cylindrical form. There was only one of them, so I thought it would be nice to kind of add another cylindrical form here. So I just made three cylinders and I connected them. Looks like it's coming out from this form, and I think that's fine. I'll make some final adjustments there later just to clean it up. But at this point, you're thinking line weight. And as you're going with the line weight through everything, then it gives you an opportunity to clean some other areas up. But you do want to leave some of the construction lines. I talk about that. So a lot of these lines, those lines that used, like this one, for example, to find forms or whatever, or those lines there, they can stay. Don't erase those completely unless they really distract or compete with something. But what you do now is you start to work up to your softer pencils. So I've already used B in some of these darker spots, and I've been doing that only for the sake of the camera, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. But since I already have some line weight established, now I'm going to step it up a notch with a 2B. There's not a 1B, that is basically your B. So this is a softer pencil, and I'm going to start to work with things that are closest to me, even though it's a two-dimensional sheet of paper and everything's the same distance. But in perspective, these items down here, these objects down here, are in theory closer to me. And to push that sense of atmospheric perspective, things that are further away can be lighter. There's a lot of things with line weight that you can achieve, a sense of hierarchy in terms of like what's important, what's not important, focal points. If you want to direct the viewer to look at a certain area first, then you can kind of apply line weight there, and that kind of guides the viewer's eyes as well. But I'm just going to start to just do a quick little demo, and then I'll stop the camera, I'll finish this, and then I'll make another video and show you what it looks like in a completed form. So this is a 2B pencil, and I'm using my ruler, and you can see I just put a nice dark line there, and it became darker, and then I'm carefully, with a very sharp point, because these softer pencils dull out really quickly. A very sharp point, and then little stuff like that. See how I made like a double line? Go back in and erase them both and pick one. Sometimes you incise the paper a little bit and it makes a groove, and it's hard to get outside of that line, but clarify that line. And once that line transitions into a, I don't know why I'm using this ruler, just as easily use this one, transitions into a straight line, then use the ruler. And then once it goes into a curve, you know, if you have to angle the paper and put your body on a certain angle so you can better create that curve, then do so. Don't make it harder than it is, make it easier for yourself. And then it goes down into the straight line. The nice thing about putting these soft, dark lines in, because I'm committed to this design, I'm not going to go back in and make adjustments at this point now. I mean, maybe some here and there, but nothing major. But I can commit with the soft pencil now. And the nice thing about it, as I'm trying to say, is that all those other light lines, like see this line right here, it's going to kind of fade back in space because this dark line is going to pull forward. And the object itself is going to pull forward. So all those construction lines that you had there aren't now competing as they were before because of the line weight variation. So when you're applying line weight, you might you should have at least like 4 different values, if you will. So what I'm putting on now, I might even go back on top with a 3B. I might, just around here somewhere. There we go. I might use my 3B, and it's kind of doled out in some cases. But for right now, I'm using my 2B because it does stand out compared to the pencils that I have. But if I start to use my 2B and I apply it all on every object in the front, then they're all going to look the same. So then I can step up to the even softer pencil, which is a 3B or possibly even a 4B, and then it gets even darker. And then you just kind of go over this. This is, to me, is the fun part, but I will say the softer pencil that you go, the more this stuff can smear. So if you're constantly going back and forth, you're just going to smear that. So be careful at this point to not do that, and be really aware of your pencils. You're constantly trying to read, oh, that's a 3B, that's a 2B. I have to go softer, I have to go harder. You're really going to know your pencils after this, almost like a good carpenter knows his tools, or her tools. I'm just going to do a quick little... I do say it's probably good practice just to reconnect some of these forms back to the vanishing point, like right here. And when you're drawing in these corners, you know, you might get a little frustrated and say, oh, I just don't have that skill set to keep my hand down and follow that line. I like to lean my hand into the hard surface. I kind of push down and it stabilizes my hand and it allows me to make curves and whatnot. Sometimes I'll block, I won't use my fingers, and I'll do like an arc of my wrist or whatnot, whatever works. So I'm just gonna work on this little guy briefly. Line weight is super important, but you don't want to start to think about line weight in the beginning of the project because you have to think about design first. And once the design's there and you're ready to go, composition, whatever you want to call it, then you can change gears and start and commit to the line weight. And I will say it's fun because you know the drawing's finished and you can move on to the next project and put this baby down. Because this is a daunting project. There's a lot of stages. It's very regimented because of the rules of perspective. Those of you who like to work organically, what I mean by that is that there are no rules kind of a situation. This might be a tricky project for you. Something that I'm doing right here, and I forgot to mention that if anything is overlapping something else, start with that first. I just noticed this here. That's why I had to go back and erase. Start with that first. And this kind of blends in. Put the line in here. Eventually you're going to put the border, and all this is going to be cropped off. And I'll show you a little trick right now. You can use a piece of printing paper, put it right on that line, and you can just erase and pull in this direction. It'll preserve the line, but it will clean everything else up on that side. I might demonstrate that again in the next video. But little tricks of the trade. And you can see the transparency that's still in there from those old lines that I had. That's a good thing. You don't want to lose that. That's called the construction line. So don't feel like, oh, I can't erase that as much as I wanted to. that's fine. Because you're using a dark value, those things are going to fade back. Okay, I just kind of wish I caught that before, but I can do the little trick I just showed you. So I can put this right on that line, cover the line that I made, hold it down, and then I can do this. All right, so now this pops forward, and that's actually a really good opportunity to take my 3B, wherever that may be. I thought I had a 3B here. Was I using my 3B? Oh, I was using my 3B the whole time. Maybe I could use my 4B. And I know I said don't go any softer than a 2B. It depends on your pencil. If you have these Faber-Castell pencils, they're a harder graphite than most pencils. So your 4H compared to a 4H of another brand is going to be much harder. So they're all kind of like that. So I just made that line a little darker, and so it pulls out more. But just by doing that, you can kind of see that this object here, whatever you want to call it, is starting to pull out. So then I guess I would do these two next. Could have done them first. And then I would probably take a 2B or a B and draw this guy. And then I'm just going to kind of work my way back. And I might not even touch this. I might clean it up a bit. I will touch it, but I'll clean it up a bit, and then I might come back and try to, I might even go even softer. I might have to do a 5B with some of the forms down here. So it will take you a couple hours to kind of go back in, probably 3 hours tops, to do all the line weight, clean it up, and kind of perfect everything. And then at the very, very end, you're gonna redraw your border and clean up the edge, and you're finished. All right, so next time I make a video, hopefully this will be done.